Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1280A, and today's date is May 15th, 2017, and the title of the episode is China's Belt and Road Will Push the Petrodollar to Its Doom. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, a lot of the soft data that we've been seeing, well, it's not living up to what the hard data is reporting. And what we are seeing right now is that the economy, well, it's declining rapidly. And we know prior to the elections, the economy has been propped up. During the elections, propped up. Right after the elections, still the same propping up. What we're seeing right now is things are starting to deteriorate right now, and things are actually getting worse. When we look at the Empire Fed Manufacturing Survey, well, that has crashed back to -1, and we see that this is the worst and first contractionary print since October of 2016. And we see new orders are crashing, and we can see that things are rapidly changing right now. Now, what is changing here is that business investment into the economy, it's not happening. The U.S. economy is suffering from a major long-term problem, and this has been going on for quite a while, going all the way back to 2000 or so. And it got worse when we hit the Great Recession, never really recovered, and we've been on this downward slide. Net private domestic business investment is relatively weak and has been on a downward course since 2000. This is ever since the dot-com bubble. Now, private investment has been in the tank right now. So the question is, why is private investment so important? Well, it fuels productivity. With little fuel, we should expect weak productivity numbers in the US, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So we are seeing that the growth in productivity is very weak and has been trending downward since the dot-com bubble. The U.S. is in the grips of the longest slide in productivity growth since the late 1970s. And this is very alarming because productivity is the key ingredient in determining wages, prices, and the economic output. Now, to put all of this in context, there's only been one post-recession recovery since 1870 as weak as the current one. And that one was following the Great Depression. So think about what is happening right now. We are in a weak productivity growth that is like the Great Depression. That is unbelievably bad. And if you look, you can see that productivity has gone nowhere since the Great Recession of 2008. It's actually absolutely terrible. Now, we've been talking about NAFTA in the last couple of reports, and we know that Trump is looking to renegotiate. During his campaign, yes, he said he was going to get rid of it. And we know through Congress there's a lot of laws that are intertwined in it, and he just can't write an executive order because he's going to have to go to Congress to get rid of NAFTA completely. Yes, it would be great if he could do that. Will he do that? Maybe, but he's been trying to get the final approval for Robert Lighthizer, and this is his nominee for the United States Trade Representative. And he needed this individual to negotiate NAFTA. Well, finally, the Senate, after 4 months, have finally said, okay, he's good to go. And now the renegotiations, I should say, for NAFTA can begin. Now, the first thing he has to do is he has to notify Congress of his intentions to renegotiate NAFTA. And this will trigger a 90-day waiting period. So he has to wait around 100 days or so before he can go ahead and do this. Now, the question is, what is he going to do with NAFTA? Is he really going to renegotiate it like he says? And if he doesn't get what he wants, is he going to scrap it? Then again, he has to go to Congress to unwind all the laws that were intertwined into NAFTA. Now, I think he needs to renegotiate NAFTA right now because, like we've been saying, trade is going to be very important for after the collapse. The dollar will no longer be the reserve currency. The petrodollar will no longer exist. Countries will be selling their oil using maybe the yuan, maybe the ruble, maybe gold, maybe their own currency, but they won't be using the dollar, which means countries will not have to keep their dollars in reserves. If they don't keep them in reserves, well, they come back to the United States, and here in the United States, we see inflation. Now, at the point where the entire economy collapses and there is no petrodollar, well, guess what? They're not going to receive dollars anymore, and they're not going to give us products. So we're going to have some type of trade. And this, I do believe, is what he's trying to work out right now. Now, the globalists, on the other hand, they don't want this. This is not part of their system. Their system is to control, and all these countries give everything to the United States. It worked well in the beginning. And here we are at the end of this system, and the whole thing is not working well anymore. This is why they were trying to push the TPP. Now, again, who does it work well for? It works well for the 1%, not the rest of the country, because as we can see, the rest of the country is hurting. And then we have different levels. We see the middle class, basically, it's gone. And if this system kept on going like it is, like they want to keep it going, where they want to keep the dollar as the reserve currency, continually put more and more debt out into the entire global arena, well, those people who are not in the 1%, who are not in the inside, they're going to find it harder and harder to exist. The value of the dollar will continually decrease. And it will make it very, very difficult to survive every single day, because what's going to happen is more and more manufacturers will leave. There'll be more and more part-time work where people will not be able to find full-time. They'll have to try to look for part-time. But the problem is that there's going to be a very difficult time trying to find the part-time jobs, because a lot of retail is closing because there's not enough people making enough money to purchase things in retail. So we have this entire cycle where it is going nowhere, and this is what we're seeing right now. Now, we are getting a lot of indicators showing us that things are rapidly falling apart. We mentioned Citis' surprise index, and that has dropped considerably. Morgan Stanley has their macro indicator, and it has just crashed the most since 2008. And when we look at this, we can see that all these indicators and all these hard economic data points, they are all showing the same thing. We have a major, major problem heading in our direction, and this is not going to end well. Now, what's very interesting about this, and we talked about this in length in other reports, where Trump and his administration and those individuals that are trying to change things, then we have the central bank, the neocons, the deep state, where they want to keep the system the way it is and just basically enslave more people. We see right now that the deep state, the central bankers, they're getting nervous. And they're starting to point out that if Trump continually does what he's doing right now, it's going to put the economy on the path to ruin. Now, I find this very interesting because we talked about this in length, where this is exactly what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to destroy the economy, because this economy is the central bank economy. It's the globalist economy. And there's no way you can fix it. You can't create jobs. You can't bring back manufacturing. You can't reduce the debt. You can't reduce the entitlements. You can't change the government right now. You can't change all those individuals that have been bought off. It's completely impossible. The only thing you can do is reset it, is default on it, and start from scratch, and then go ahead and get rid of those individuals that we really don't need anymore. But Paul Krugman is out there, and he is saying that Trump is putting us on the path to economic ruin. So the globalists, the central bankers, they see what he's doing, and they understand what he is doing. This is why there's a battle between the central bank and the Trump organization. Now, I'm not saying Trump is perfect. I'm not saying he's going to do everything right. I'm not saying he's a savior, a god. He's a man. There's individuals that are trying to do the right thing. They have a plan. So does the central bankers. Does it mean their plan's going to work? No, we don't know how this is going to work out. The only thing that's constant in all of this is that the system's going to crash. That is a fact. The system, the way it is going to implode on itself. It all depends on who does it. And we can see this is where the battle is. Now, we see that China, Russia, and other countries, well, they're preparing for this collapse. They know what's going on. They realize that this system's coming down. Even though Americans here in the United States and maybe throughout Europe, people in Europe and Canada, they don't realize, or Australia, they don't realize what's going on. They think everything is fine. We'll get out of this at some point in time. They don't see that this whole system's going to implode on itself. But those in the corporate media, the deep state, the central bank, they realize what China's doing. I mean, in CNN, they're saying that China's New World Order, Xi, Putin, and others meet for the Belt and Road Forum. Now, we know there's a meeting going on. North Korea is included. There is a representative from the United States there. Trump is looking at this saying, yeah, it would be a great idea if we join this. And China's Belt and Road Summit, since it started, they realized that China, well, they're starting up their free trade system, where this Silk Road system is going to run throughout Europe and maybe one day into the United States. And we can see that as they do this, this is just another nail in the petrodollar's coffin. And this is why the United States needs to be a part of this. Because if the United States is left out and we go down the path of the globalists, well, the rest of the world is going to be trading in this. Remember, China and Russia, India and other countries, they've been accumulating gold. They've been preparing for this exact situation. They've replicated everything here in the West, and it is out in the East. So what we're seeing right now is that this Belt and Road, it is a game changer. And this system meshes with Russia's Eurasian vision, coming together provide a roadmap which includes a broad swath of countries with contiguous or strategic interest on the continental landmass from South China Sea to the Baltic. One of the key tenets of these programs is the promotion of free trade. China has put its money where its mouth is. They have spent about 100 billion yuan deposited for the Silk Road Fund to assist infrastructure projects, and 60 billion yuan in aid to developing countries. In addition, Chinese government-run banks are now establishing lending mechanisms of approximately 380 billion yuan to support the project. And both China and Russia, they agree that the economic development will enhance political stability throughout the many countries in the region. Now, Putin has welcomed the initiative as a promotion of peace and development. Of particular interest is the great enthusiasm of the British representative, which can be explained in many different ways. The United States also spoke in support of the Belt and Road Initiative, citing various ways in which the country is developing infrastructure and various industries. And we can see right now that many countries are joining this. Many countries are going to be a part of this. The TPP is dead. The TTIP is dead. And we can see at this point that the dollar is no longer going to be the reserve currency. Is it going to be the reserve currency this second? Yes. But moving forward in the future, it will no longer be the reserve currency, because when this system comes down, that whole thing is going to be wiped out completely. So one thing we know for sure is that the economy is going to collapse on itself. The debt level is too high. The system is going nowhere. And we can see that we have two factions, the Trump faction, and which I'll just call the Trump faction. We have the central bank faction. Yes, we have other little factions out there that want war and other things, but these are the main ones. And they are working now to bring the system down. What you need to do at this point is to make sure that you are prepared for what is coming. Make sure that you have water. Make sure that you have food. Make sure you have a weapon. Make sure you have some form of gold and silver. You can buy junk silver, pre-1964 dimes and quarters and things like that. Make sure you, If you can afford it, have gold. Make sure that you have a weapon to protect your family. Make sure you have medical supplies, because the reason I say this is because when things start to really rapidly fall apart, I should say, what's going to happen is those dollars that have been offshored, they're coming back here because countries will no longer need it, because the dollar will no longer be the reserve currency of the world. And we're going to see hyperinflation here like we've never seen before. And when that does hit, it's going to be pretty darn bad, and credit is going to freeze up. We're already seeing credit freeze up right now. We're already getting signs of that. And once it does, well, it's going to be very, very difficult for many individuals. This is why China, Russia, and other countries have been accumulating gold, because they understand gold is money. The paper currency that we see today, or in the electronic form, guess what? That is no longer going to exist. But we do need to hold some cash on hand, because when the system comes down, people will still recognize the cash, even though you'll need a lot more of it, but you will use this in the beginning. You will not use gold and silver. You might not even use that at all. You might go into bartering, because I would hold on to the gold and silver to the very last minute until everything is brought back online, reestablished, and things like that. And this is why I'm telling you to have these type of supplies, to have cash on hand, because people normally don't have this. Many people just have their credit cards or maybe a debit card, and they do everything electronically. And if all of this is gone electronically, there will be nothing. Because you know what's going to happen. The banks are going to come in, the central bank, they're going to take the funds from within the bank to keep the system operational. Because the central bank, they're going to do whatever they have to try to keep the system alive, to say, no, we're important, we can keep it alive, look, we just need to do this and that and the other thing, and they'll try to prop it up again, they'll try to pump up the market again. While on the other hand, if Trump's plan works, they're going to continually try to destroy the economy. So we can see right now that we're in a tough situation, but no matter what happens here, the economy is coming down. And we really don't know who's going to emerge on top and say, okay, this is the way it's going to be. I mean, if the central bank does, and they're able to get rid of Trump, well, we're back in their system. If the Trump and his individuals emerge, well, we're on a different system. So no matter what, get prepared. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.